Hello, book lovers. I'm Peg, book prize addict, and there are so many good prizes in the works now. I decided this week to pick a entry from each of the prizes I'm following. Well, some of the prizes I'm following, and just do one book per prize. I've got the info below on each prize, so I won't go into detail about the prize, and you can see what else is on the prize, which hopefully I'll be doing later. I am going to change it up next week. I'm going to do just one prize, hopefully read all the books on it. It's the LA Times Prize for Debut Fiction, the Art Seidelbaum Prize, and surprisingly, it's a really good list. You'd think that Los Angeles would have more commercial type things, but it's a really good list on that. So I've given a list of that too. It's going to be awarded a week from Friday, so I want to try to read them all. It's kind of fun to be able to read them all and comment on them before the prize is awarded. Okay, let's get down to the ones for today. First I have The Sweetness of Water from the Dylan Thomas Prize. Just briefly, you can look it up, the prize, if you want to know more. Sponsored by Swansea University. Book prizes that are sponsored by or in coordination with universities always have quite literary books on them, which I really enjoy. And the Dylan Thomas, he was a famous poet, wild man, died at 39, so all the books on this list are from writers under 39. Okay, this one, Sweetness of Water by Nathan Harris, is an actual debut, and while it's kind of problematic, I want to say some good things about it. It's a debut. He's a very young author. He had good writing. I think he's got a good future ahead of him, but I had a little bit of problem with, I'll go into it now. I've also showed on my below the 5 categories that I judge on a book, and I kind of use that as a way to talk about it. Okay, briefly, the plot, it takes place right after the Civil War in the U.S., a very complex, complicated, unhappy time in Georgia, and they had just had the Emancipation Proclamation, released the slaves. The slaves really didn't know where to go, and they didn't have any money, they didn't have any paid work experience. Oh, dropping on my stuff. So it was quite confused. This story takes place in a small town on a farm with a middle-aged man and woman. His name is George, and he doesn't. There's another. His son has gone off to war; is not back yet. So he finds out in the woods 2 slave men, black men, who have not escaped but left the farm next door since they're free, but they're just hungry and don't have any money, have no idea where to go, and he actually hires them for wages to come and work for him, and it works out pretty good. As characters, they're a little better conversationalists than I would expect from, just uneducated slaves, but they seem like great people, and he was interesting. Now, the other problem is, okay, he and his wife, I always say a book has to be about character or plot as the main thing. Well, I think I tried to put a little too much in it. It starts out very character driven. There's a lot of character things about him and his wife, Isabel. She's a little strange too. They love each other, but they don't like to be together much, which is hard when you're in an isolated farm. And there's a lot of inside detail and stream of conscience almost. And but then there's a lot of problems. I'm not going to say too much about it, but there's also a event with a homosexual, 2 white homosexual soldiers coming back from the war that are discovered, and that puts the town in an uproar. The town is also displeased because he is paying them to work for him, and they think there are many white soldiers who are returning who need paying jobs. So it's a brouhaha. Now, it starts out with a lot of sense of place when he's in the woods, a lot of interior monologue. But then about halfway through, we get a lot of action. It almost becomes like a Western, shoot 'em up Western. And it was kind of a strange change in the middle of it. So anyway, though I think this guy's got a good future, the plot and the characters didn't really work well together. So I didn't give too many points for each. And you'll be able to see the points. I gave it a 17, which equals a 3.5 star. Okay, next we have several books that I dropped. Oh, God. Okay, The Wrong End of the Telescope by Alameddine. Well, I don't know. Anyway, it's part of the Faulkner Awards that are coming up, and I'm going to try to be reading. It also has a lot of good ones on it. This I especially was interested to read because I had read An Unnecessary Woman, which was his prior novel, which won a big award of some sort. I can't remember exactly, but it had to do with a Syrian woman in Beirut, older woman who was just kind of isolated in her high-rise apartment, and had been for years. There was civil war going on, and it's kind of easy to picture that now with things like they are. But anyway, she was very literary kind of character. She loved books, and she had spent many, many years translating books that she loved into Arabic. But she didn't ever publish them or she just did it for love of books. So she had quite a life with books there. And, okay, now I have to get onto this one. Okay, this one, not quite as good, but pretty good. Okay, The Wrong End of the Telescope deals with an Arab-American woman, trans woman doctor that goes to a island off the coast of Greece, Lesbos, to help with the refugee problem. And I learned a lot about, first of all, this is the first actual novel I've written about a close-up of a trans person. I learned a lot about that and her history and what she'd been through. I learned about more, though we know about the refugee crisis. But mainly, it was kind of interesting, the portrait of the volunteers that come to help the refugees. The main story had her and a friend helping a specific refugee family, and it followed that story. But there was quite an interesting characterization of the volunteers that came, mostly from America, college kids that came on their spring break, etc., young people. And when they came, it's more like they wanted to be able to say they had volunteered rather than to really volunteer. They were very anxious to get selfies with the refugees and send them back to their friends and get it online and stuff. It was interesting. I mean, she doesn't really demolish them. They were bad people, but they weren't really there for help. Okay. Anyway, this is an excellent book. I loved it. I gave it, but a lot of points. Oh well, you can read. I think I gave it 22 points, and or 23, and it rounded out to a 5 star. So this is a great book, and I can't wait to read the rest of the Faulkner. Okay, next we have, again, all the books I've dropped. Okay. The International Booker Award for Translated Works. The shortlist is out now, and I'm going to try to read all those. I do have quite a while, but there are 2 voluminous books that I want to get started on, and luckily other people are reading them, and I've seen several great reviews here on BookTube. If you're interested in them, you can just search for the title of the character of the name. Actually, the first one that I'm barely started on is the Books of Jacob, and that's the one that I've seen several great reviews already here on BookTube, and I'm just starting it, but I'm liking it. I have to read slowly. There's so many foreign names and things that happen, and actually I'm reading it on a Kindle because much easier when I come to a name that I've forgotten who it is. I can, link to the name, the Kindle function, and see all the places that character's been and review the Kindle in my mind. So that's quite helpful. Okay, I'll have a lot more to report to that later, but I just wanted to tell you I'm working on it, and I'm also working on the other, what do they call it, chunker, the big book. Well, I'll explain. It's not real. It's called A New Name by John Fosse, and it's actually the third part in a series that he's done, and only this last book is up for the award. But so who knows? I don't know if that'll go against it or not. But it is so well done that where are they? Oh, I already had the part 1 and part 2. They're not really okay. The first part is called The Other Name. I just finished it. Now, it's really a septology. It's 7 parts, so each book has several parts in it. This one had 1 and 2. I'm starting to read next. The I Is Another. It has parts 3 and 5, and the new one, which I'll get once I'm ready for it, has parts 6 and 7. So I am loving this. I can tell. People say, do you have to read all of them? Well, I think it's better off to if you really want to feel the book. It does just go on and it's going to be published as one long book after the award. It has to do with some men in Iceland, mainly one man in his life as an artist. Now, and what he does, and it's written in this way, I don't know how you describe it, maximalist writing, but very slow. It kind of goes through everything he does in the day. You'd think it would be boring, but it's so good. I was just entranced. And there's a few other characters, but you have to let go a little bit and let a little bit of surrealism come in. I was listening to a great review the other day where they talked about a lot of contemporary books have just a little bit of surrealism, which actually adds texture to the story, and this does. Now, in this one, the main character, Asle, I don't know how you pronounce it, has actually a doppelganger, a man that lives somewhere else who's in the picture. That's kind of like his other life that he could have lived. And we see kind of 2 lives here. I know there'll be a lot more intermixing of the 2 as I go on, but it's really, really well done. Yeah, I think I won't say much more about that, but I'm anxious to read the second one and then finally get to the one that's up for the award. Okay, last, and I must say least, is the book I read for the Women's Book Award, which will be coming up. The shortlist is going to be April 27th. I'm actually a little bit sorry I chose to read the long list, but I'm making it through. I only have 3 more to go of the 16, and I think I'll finish. And it has been interesting to see the difference, and I enjoy using my rating plan of 25 points so that they differentiate. You can see down below, I have them lined up in order of how I've liked them so far. This one is pretty near the bottom. Okay, The Exhibitionist, quickly. The Exhibitionist is a man in England, an artist, aging artist, who is getting ready to have an art exhibit, hence the term. It's a little problematic. His whole family is a mess. His wife is also an artist. She was his student long ago and has kind of passed him by in talent and accolades, and he's not taking it well at all. In fact, he's a complete narcissist, egotistic person that doesn't take anything well at all. I cannot believe the family has stuck with him so much. But there are 3 children, or not grown children, that have parts, and they play their parts. It was just such stick figures to me, such strange actions. I gave it, And I have to say also, there's an award given for worst sex scenes in the books, and this one might have one that's up for it. I'll just say the scene in the bushes. Oh, incidentally, the woman, the wife, though she's scared to death of the husband and caters to his every need, is actually having an affair with another woman, and that's a big part of the story too. So, anyway, not my favorite. Not it's down there with Paper Palace, which wasn't too good either. But I think the three I have to read next will be pretty good. So I'll be back with them not next week. So next week I'll be back with the LA long list, short list. Hope some of you guys might read along with me and comment on that. Okay, bye.